Hey, how you doing, Kat?
Honestly, I had some orange juice. Like, so if I drink, everything drains. But granted, I'm made of mucous membranes. It's gonna absorb like throughout there, you know. So I get a tiny bit. So I had some orange juice, and I actually feel a lot better. I think I had low blood sugar.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
You can? Okay.
Can you hear me?
I know that you just got out of the hospital, right? You just barely. Yeah,
Um,
we were wondering whether we were going to be able to have you or to reschedule. I've really been looking forward to talking with you.
Thank you.
Um, and we've
I'm
got more
excited
and more
to be able
people.
to do it too.
What's that?
I'm excited to be able to do it too.
Absolutely. And we've got a, for those that haven't been following Kat, please follow her at connected_cat. And we're gonna let her get into some of the details of uh, the varying conditions that she has, you guys. But she really, not to oversimplify it, but has challenges with her digestive system and even um, her circulatory system in terms of just getting things moving, right, and things moving the way that they need to be. And there's some words for a lot of that, but that's kind of a way to think of it, is that the challenges when your body's just not moving the things that it needs to, and that's a lot of it. Gastroparesis, intestinal dysmotility, pelvic
Hmm.
floor dysfunction, IBS-C, gastroesophageal reflux, are a few of them. But it's not just your uh, circulatory system as well as your digestive system. It's also, well, Ehlers Danlos, um, as well as mast cell activation and POTS, right? Postural
Hmm.
orthostatic
Tachycardia
tachycardia
syndrome.
syndrome. And then there's also cyclic vomiting syndrome, fibromyalgia. You've got some non-epileptic seizures. So a lot to unpack there.
Hmm.
Um, so before we kind of dive into that, tell me a little bit about how you recall that we connected.
I have no idea.
It's interesting because what I recall is about 7 months ago we started doing interviews, and we now are doing four a week.
Oh wow.
And this is actually the first night that we're doing back to back, by the way. So um, we have an hour, and then um, at the top
Into
of the
the
hour, we've got another guest joining us, right? So there's a lot of people sharing their stories with the hashtag Spoonies at TikTok, and sometimes there are people that I find on there that I reach out to and be able to get scheduled. Sometimes people reach out to us, but whether you're joining us on her end or mine, you guys, we are excited that there are more and more people that are coming together um, and helping support each other. And as I kind of turn the mic over to you, just know if you can just speak as loud as you can. With the screen share recording that I've got going on, sometimes it's a little bit low volume on my side to hear you. It does record well,
hmm
but I want to make sure I can hear you pretty good. So what motivated you to go on TikTok and start sharing some of these things?
Let me think, because I feel like that was so long ago. I was like, what? I think I was just super bored. In all honesty, I
Okay.
think I was just super bored. I saw some of my friends doing the videos, and I was like, "Ooh, I can do that one." Like, I can make my own little version of it, and then we can like put them together. Because I started mainly on Instagram. I'm sorry, I'm dealing with this light. It's broken. But yeah. Stop like whatever it's gonna say that way.
So as what we're one of the things that I like to do is kind of give you the opportunity to go back as far as you'd like in terms of kind of explaining how you started learning about some of these conditions. Sometimes people go back into their childhood. You don't have to go back that far. Where would you, a lot of people, this will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube,
Mhm.
and it's the
Oh,
first
sweet.
time that they've even, seen, you or known anything about you. Where would you like to start in terms of where things started
I
developing?
like the earliest that I can start is what my mom told me, like, because my biological father hasn't been in my life my whole life, so he was coming in and he didn't understand what was going on. He's like, "Oh, you just should eat," stuff like that. But like my mom was explaining to him, and I didn't even know this, but she was like, "You do understand that." I'm gonna say cat. They call me Nana, but cat. But I was like, "You do understand that cat got her first enema when she was 3 days old," and I was like, "Really? Did not even know that." But yeah, like it started then.
Just right
Then.
away in terms of things just not moving the way they should.
Like, because they said they couldn't find a formula to feed me because everything that was rejecting, and then they couldn't find it because then I eventually became too distended that, like, it was just too painful for a baby to eat. Like, I think that's crazy. But yeah, and then
So
like she was
what's
talking
the
about,
with gastroparesis, if a lot of we are learning so much as we meet with people. I can't imagine how the diversity, right? That just
it
continues
really
to
is.
come, that's
It's so
all kind of within pain and chronic pain. So break
sad.
that one down for us a little bit with the gastroparesis. If things aren't moving the way that they should, it's not just what's that?
Okay, there's the audio. It totally went out for a second. So say
There
that
you
one
go.
again.
Yeah. If it's not just as simple as like a constipation or something, or to have a laxative. So what how why is it so different than just what maybe other people might relate with as it pertains to when something's not moving right? How is it different than just being like, okay, well, I'm constipated or this or whatever, so I need to take a laxative. What talk to us as if we know nothing about it.
So like the best way for me to like layman terms explain gastroparesis is like, okay, so think when you get the stomach flu and you can't eat anything. Everything sounds horrible. Water sounds horrible. You can't keep down anything. You can't keep down a saltine. It just hurts forever and it never goes away. That's kind of what gastroparesis is. And so that's like the
You
best
just
way.
can't keep anything down.
Yeah, that's where also the cyclic vomiting comes from. Like if I eat anything, it's gonna, even if it does stay down, it's gonna become rotten in my stomach until I throw up. It's
Oh, okay.
ridiculous. And then it
So just it's just the whole process of just eating, having it get digested, having it go through. You don't experience that at
like
all,
what's
or
digested.
do you have to do you have to not use your digestive system that way? Do you have to get nourishment through IV?
So what I have to do, so forgive me if I can't do this. Can I show my feeding tubes are in my stomach?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, of course.
What I have a G tube that connects to my stomach. Since my stomach doesn't work, I can't feed through my stomach. Anything that if I put food into it, it would make me sick. So the reason I have
Okay.
this is to put into a bag. So everything that I eat or drink, because I do get hungry and I do get thirsty because my stomach is always empty. I'm trying to get this thing. I hooked it on really good. But yeah, so okay. Yeah, so every sorry, I just got out of the hospital with surgery, so everything's still kind of painful. Okay, so this is my
No, be
G tube.
careful.
G is for gastro. So gastro is stomach. And so this everything that I eat or drink will go down this tube. So it does. So either way, if I eat or drink or anything, I will vomit. 100%. I haven't been able to eat or drink and keep anything down for the last 4 years. Not one single time. So anything that I eat or drink will go down this tube into this bag.
But is that after? So, your stomach
Mm-hmm.
is able to. at least handle it and digest it. Is that connected to one of your intestines, or is that going? I mean, it's not going straight
This
through
one's
your.
connected into my stomach to empty out my stomach. There's no digestion that happens. My stomach doesn't move. So it'll just sit there. And so that's why we have to physically empty it. And then if it doesn't drain like by gravity, I have to go and get a syringe and I have to go and connect it to right here and then I have to pull it out myself. And so
So is its purpose is to just keep your stomach empty?
pretty much just it's the purpose to limit vomiting because I've had multiple lesions and ulcers and stuff.
Oh, I see.
So
All the
much.
stomach, the stomach acid and the things that are just normally going to just be there to say, "Hey, I'm ready for food." Well, you're not eating, and so it needs to not have that just sit and think. Okay, okay. I did
And
not
then
know that. I'm
if
sure
I
that
don't
that.
connect to it and I don't eat anything, like if I'm NPO, that means nothing by mouth. So I don't have one single drink. I don't have one single like taste or anything. I will still vomit.
Okay, so that's one thing that's connected to you to make to kind of regulating your stomach. How do you get food? How do you get nourishment?
So, so this one's to the stomach. This one goes to my intestine. It's called a J tube. The J tube stands for jejunum, and that's the beginning of your intestine. So the stomach empties into the intestine, but there is a well, there's lots of technically it's called sphincters. There's lots of openings and closings that it has to go through to get into this to the intestine. So the intestine, 99% should not be backing up into the stomach. So anything that goes into the intestine is gonna stay. So I have this. I have a feeding tube that actually goes into this to the intestine 24/7. I have feedings 24/7. This is what it looks like. I have to carry this around 24/7, and then I have a flush bag that holds a little bit of water, and so I have to
So
carry that.
one of those bags is your nourishment,
Mhm.
and that goes straight into your intestine because you know
Mhm.
it can't go into your stomach because that defeats
Mhm.
the flow of what's going on there.
Exactly.
And so it allows for your intestinal, both the small and large intestines, to do what they are still capable of doing, right, in terms of getting the nourishment from that.
Mhm.
Okay, and it's allowing for things to to flow. Does it flow through that well enough to not only give you the nourishment, but to, I mean, do you have like, do you have bowel movements or something like that, or is there something else
So
that
like
is there another tube for the waste?
So actually, I don't. So luckily, I don't have to have any ostomies or anything like that. So I can still have bowel movements myself, kinda. It's sometimes
Okay,
it goes very long. Like while I was in the hospital, they gave me multiple enemas and multiple suppositories, and I went 11 days without any bowel movements. After that, I did, and it was a wreck. But
and
it's
I'm just
still very
curious, and forgive me if I get
no.
too detailed, but I found that when people, ask that, that's actually helpful for people, because they're genuine questions.
Yeah.
When you've got mainly fluids going in you, is it largely fluids that are coming out? Because there's not so much, it's not like you've got bulk foods
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of a fluidy kind of a thing, right? It's not like you have more
Majority of the time,
compact
it's
like other
fluidy.
people would have. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a totally like peeing out your butt kind of thing.
Yeah. But wow, I um I can't remember her name, but Nell, by the way, is my
Oh
wife.
yes,
If you
I
haven't
know.
already been introduced to her, and she would love to have been here tonight. She hates when she misses them.
It's okay.
Um, she's got a lot of different chronic conditions, but she wasn't able to make it tonight, and so she gives her love to you. But she had a friend. She's had several friends on YouTube pass away, and one of
Mhm.
them had gastroparesis. And you might have known her. I think she was well known. I wish I.
I know exactly what you're talking about already. Is it Amy?
Yeah,
She was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
She's
She
amazing. She
just
still is.
fell in love with Amy, and she was very, Amy, as well as yourself, are just major pioneers, right? Just putting that out there and helping people understand things
Hmm.
that are just so foreign to them,
Yeah.
and so it takes, it takes courage to I think talk about it, and I'm glad that hopefully what you're seeing on your own, but even as you join those that we're all interviewing, is that it's inspiring for people. It's not just us that I think are part in seeing it not be a stigmatizing thing or something where
Yeah.
people are needing to be hide. I think overall in society there's just kind of been this time where there's less of that, and people are
Yeah.
talking more about it, and it's being received well, and even inspiring.
So what happened when I got my first surgical tubes and stuff, I was so alone and confused that I know that the communities that are on YouTube and the communities on like TikTok and Instagram, they saved my life. Like so many
Wow.
people gave me the education that helped me get like the diagnoses I needed to get my treatment. Well, treatment. But
Really?
there's no way that I would be in like I know I'm not in like a good spot now, but I could have been way worse. So I know like so many people have helped me. Just their posts have helped me, not even knowing that they've known. Like knowing that I haven't even seen the post or anything. I've been
Yeah.
so helped. It's such a blessing. Like
Wow, that is incredible. I love hearing that. It's a sobering statistic that over 50% of the suicides are related to chronic pain.
and it's
There
not okay.
people just get into that space. I mean, can you imagine if we weren't talking about it and you were just isolated? And there are people that are still in those circumstances, right? That we're trying to reach out to throughout the world. We This Saturday we have our first Ireland
Oh wow.
interview. Yeah, and I was in contact with an Australian today, and so we're
Getting
moving global.
around.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. All over the world, people are you know
Mhm.
we're the same in so many ways. And
Yeah.
um, so those are the main connections that you've got in your stomach. There is regulate
Yeah.
the stomach so it's not acting up. Get you your nutrition. You don't eat at all.
So I can it's called pleasure eating. And so like you just eat for pleasure, like it's not going to be digested, it's not going to be like absorbed. So it and I have to take it out of my stomach. So it's called pleasure eating and I'm talking about it right now for the sake of we're talking about how stigmatizing things because it is so stigmatized because it makes me feel incredibly guilty because it's people will call it like wasting food and stuff like that because like
Yeah,
it's not
like it's a justified bulimia or something, or
yeah.
oh, this is convenient. I can eat whatever the hell I want, and I can, not have the consequence of it, right? Kind of a thing. Yeah.
There's definitely some consequences because half the time I can't drain as fast, so I'm usually vomiting anyways.
Yeah, because you got to be careful, even though that there's some tolerance there. It's not like you're, motivated to do a lot of that, knowing that it's going to have to go into the bag, and you may have it may take some time, so that you got
It's gonna take some time.
it could sit there, and then you got issues with it not breaking down to get into the bag. So it's like caution, right? It's not just throw it all in, right? Just for pleasure kind of thing. But
Hmm.
you're not the whole experience of just eating for nutrition, that's just gone, right? You're staying. Is it your fluids and the nutrition that's just all packed in there?
Well, like I feel like with like fluids and food, so you think about like the sugars, especially in food, and like the sugars and just like electrolytes and liquids. So I think about that like as like I'll hold like especially with fluids with electrolytes, I'll hold it in my mouth for a long time so I can try to like absorb it through mucous membranes. Since that's an absorbed thing without digestion, you don't have to have any constrictions, any motility to have things just soak in through like a tissue paper. And so I think about that like when I swallow or something like that I'm at least getting something that's gonna like anything that wets it, it's gonna soak in at least a little bit, the tiniest bit, but it's still not gonna be what you want it to be.
So with Amy, I didn't follow that as well as my wife did. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not only is this, you know, a chronic condition and there's pain associated with that. And by the way, Nell just she just joined us on our end, so
Hello.
she wants to say hi. She's like, "Hey, welcome, beautiful lady. So happy you're with us." Um, but oh, she's got a soft spot for you and those that deal with that, with the story that you know that she was just so close. I think they even had some kind of a friendship. I think that Amy knew Nell.
Yeah.
She connects with them, right? And so I don't know all of what happened that caused for her to pass, but this can be life threatening, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
what's the main life threatening component to it? Is it just the digestive your intestines starting to reject the uptake of
I
it,
think
or
the biggest is like once it all starts rejecting 100% the malnutrition, and if you can't get TPN in there, then that's it, and you'll starve to death. But the other
okay?
thing that'll happen is just lots of complications that just come with malnutrition. So like even if you're malnutrition, sorry, that was my phone saying percent whatever.
That's
But
okay.
yeah, so say like malnutrition and you get dehydrated and your potassium is a little low and you have a heart attack. I kind of think that's the situation that happened, but I'm not quite sure, so don't quote me on that. But that
Yeah, I guess
happens a
I
lot.
mean it's you know with the healthy body, right? Anything can
Mm-hmm.
kind of go wrong that basically results in there being a loss of oxygen or nutrition or whatever. So when you've got the setup that you've got, then there's just higher risk, right? And that hey, that's great for the days when you know you've got the routine down. In term, do you dress it and change? Do you have help with that, or do you um,
I'm supposed to. Right now, I'm trying my best to do everything. I do mostly my wound care because I do it the most gentle. But nurses come to help, and I'm working on getting more nursing to come more frequently so they can help more because I change it twice a day, and so but most of the times I'll change it once a day and then they'll change it once a day.
so you're
Um,
able to do some changing of it as well? It's just you know
mhm.
you're not completely independent upon you know someone doing it. You just you kind of get into the routine and almost like a new norm, right? A lot of people talk about even like with Nell and I, you know, it might be there might be some things that people would think, okay, well that's really you know not what they're used to, but you just kind of get used to it yourself, right? It kind of becomes
Mhm.
your new norm. Well,
It
you know,
really.
I know that there's so many people that can relate. I know Andy, you're probably familiar with who Andy's journey, Andy.
Oh yes, I love her.
Yeah, so we interview her next week, and she just popped in here. She
Wow,
said, "Tell Kat I say hi. Wish I could stay, but I'm not at all okay." So she's not doing well right now.
I've
Um,
noticed on her posts. I'm so sorry. I'm
yeah,
well for
yeah,
you
and
too.
she's probably you know trying to be okay enough to still have us you know interview her because last time we missed her, but bless your heart, Andy, if you're still here, and all those that join. I hope that I can get to some of these comments. Every single one of you have just amazing importance. You are all special.
It's true.
Um, you know, one of the things that Nell uh, and the values that she has such integrity with is you know no one's above another, right?
No,
And you know it
in
doesn't
this
matter.
life, in this community, and the whole world.
Absolutely, yep, 100%. And and I just yeah I'm just humbled at
Hmm.
continuing to learn what you guys I'll go through. I mean I largely am kind of you know from a care I have some of my thing conditions that I've got, but for the most part I kind of have been observing and living it from a uh, caregiver standpoint. Do you talk a little bit about your family and support system dynamic, if you would?
I am incredibly lucky. My mom is a nurse, and my stepdad is a PT. I am so lucky. So every time, like, so I live in this is my apartment, and I live with my fiance. That's recent, and uh, But my poor fiance, like, granted, he's learning a lot. Like, he's able to do my medications and stuff now. My tube medications. I don't think he remembers how to do my IVs. Um, and I doubt that he will ever give me a shot. But he's good, like, getting me like my pills and stuff like that for all of that. But those are the main medications anyway. So he's learned to
Well,
do
if
that.
he's right there, give a shout out to him. He doesn't have to feel like he needs to come in the camera, but if he's right there with you, just our love to him. We know the challenges that kind of go along with that, and it takes a special person to. And so if he wants to say hi, great. If not, just if he can hear me, or even if just you want to relay it, that we really appreciate
Mm-hmm.
everything that he does for you.
Yeah, he's at work right now, but I'll definitely tell him, and he that will make him feel really good.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, but so I usually stay at my house, but once things get too bad and I don't want to go to the ER immediately, I'll go to my mom's house, and then she will try to regulate me. And then
Yeah.
it's really easy because she makes sure that I stay bed rest. But like with when I'm home, like at my apartment, and my fiance, well, first of all, my fiance works 12 hours a day, so I'm alone at least 14 hours a day, and so it's a
Wow.
lot.
Yeah.
So I usually get up because I have to, but she makes sure that I stay. Sorry, I'm good still. But I'm good. Okay. Yeah, but my mom will make sure that I stay like in bed and don't do anything really, and she makes sure that I have like my meds on the dot and stuff like that. So she's very very nursey, and like my fiance
Yeah.
is not a nurse. He's never been a nurse, all that sort of stuff. So it's like I
Yeah.
told.
She's protective, right? I mean,
Mhm.
she's yeah.
Yeah, I told her, like, because every time I come home from the hospital, I go to my mom's house first, and I told her it's my step down. It's a step down facility, and so it's very helpful with that. And uh, she is very good, like, with calling doctors and talking to doctors when I need them to, and like telling them like what is necessary and needed. Because it's so ridiculous. I will say quote unquote the same thing as her, and they will listen to her after ignoring me. It's ridiculous, and it's
Yeah.
just
It's
because I'm a younger. It's just because I'm younger.
a
I don't know
bittersweet,
anything about
right? They're there.
female,
They're
but
there taking care of you, and but you still want to be able to feel validated if you're saying something as well, right? Rather than the
Mhm.
caretaker. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sadly and goodly. So my mom and my stepdad just moved away. I don't have any of that support anymore. But I'm really happy for them because they moved to the Houston area and they're going to open their own restaurant for the pho, where it's a Vietnamese noodle soup, which also is gluten free and has lots of broth.
Another plug. Yeah.
But I'm really happy for them. But it's hard not having that support like
Yeah.
immediately. Like I would have gone to my mom's house today. I've been very bad today. I've had multiple falls. I like this is the orange juice talking right now, but it's been
Yeah,
incredibly hard.
I'm surprised you could keep down. I take a Meprazole for stomach acid. I
I
remember the
take
days when
pantoprazole.
yeah, and I feel like I don't have acid reflux, anymore. But I orange juice and spaghetti sauce would just rip me up.
See, with my orange juice, I water it down a whole lot, and I like because it's draining. It drains really. It drains. It
I
drains
see.
in your
Yeah,
veins,
there you
but
go.
I think the sugar like gets absorbed just a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
I think it's like
dilute it a
absorbed
little
just
bit.
enough. Yeah,
See, you learn the tricks. You learn the
it's very true.
tricks. And the intestinal dysmobility, the pelvic floor dysfunction, the gastro, they're all kind of overlaying, right? I mean, they kind of, it's interesting. They'll have like these words to kind of explain the dysfunction of this part and this part and this part, but really, in terms of kind of simply understanding it, it's just a kind of a way to say that region with digestive system, this part's not working right, and this part, the stomach's not working right, right? And that's really kind of the gist of it, right?
It really is just pick like all of it's messed up. But we're
Yeah,
just gonna put pins over here just to tell
yeah,
you
yeah. Because
exactly.
and they need to do that because I mean, if you were having to have surgery or something, and it was on just the pelvic floor part of things,
Mhm.
then they would need to have terminology to just not just say, hey, well, our intestinal tract's messed up. Well, what about, what part of it, that kind of thing. So that's really
I would
helpful
laugh
for,
so
I think,
hard.
people to get kind of, understand it.
Hmm.
Um, the pots. Talk to us a little bit about the pots. That, a lot of times that that's the blood, right? The whole, if you stand up. So
So
do you have
it's
to just
not
kind of, get up a little bit slower so
slow,
that you don't get that lightheadedness and things?
so slow. I'm on two medications for it, and then once I get my port back, I have daily fluids for it, and that helps tremendously. And so with that, it it not only like makes me feel lightheaded, it makes my heart race so much to the point where I start sweating and like I start breathing heavy, and then my body gets so heavy, and then I get goosebumps, and then I like my legs will like start feeling numb, and then my hearing will start ringing, and then my hearing will go out, and then my eyes will start getting that black, and then my legs do go out, and then it goes all black. Then I'm
Because
out.
the oxygen, I mean, with
Yeah, that's
with
exactly what it
with
is. It's
things
not
not just flowing consistently with your blood pressure and different things, then you're having different levels of oxygenated blood in different parts, and that can kind of, it's kind of like, whoa, what's going on, right? And so you have to. But
so
is
what's
it is it is
happening.
it pretty reasonably managed in terms of just being, careful with the getting up and down, and not get too strenuous of activity and things like that, or I mean, or
When I have my IV fluids, it's a lot more tolerable. But today I've already fainted 3 times, and it has not been fun. But all 3 times I have fallen. What my future mother-in-law, my future mother-in-law said when she saw me faint, like after when I was back up,
yeah.
I do it so gracefully, gracefully. Nobody
And
knew I
you
fainted until I woke up and said I'm okay.
see, and boy, isn't that true with the whole spoonie concept? And that 1 minute, you could be okay having a conversation, and
I was having a
two,
conversation packing my bag.
yeah, 2 hours. We might, you know, let's say you had 10 spoons. This call for an hour may take six of those, right? And then you crash, and you're like, an hour later, you're like, okay, I'm not feeling too good, right? So you have to kind of, manage even those things that you really are important in your life. You got to still be careful because it's not like,
Mhm.
hey, everybody, this is how I am all the time, right?
Mhm. Yeah, after this, I'm definitely resting just for the sake of so I can put some like hot dogs in the oven for my fiance later for dinner.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
What about the Ehlers Downlows? So sometimes people think of that, and it's just kind of where the joints and sinews and tissues are just kind of loose. What is that for you? Where is there a certain part of your body that you have to deal with more than others, or
So my wrists and ankles, they are the worst. But since the hospitalization, I guess it was just being in bed too long, my knees and my hips are starting to go really bad. So like I can be in bed and like turn over, and then my hip just falls out and like falls in, and it's bad.
yeah, because it's loose. It's not. It's just for those that are not familiar with Ehlers Downloads. It's basically like your muscles and your sinews and your bones and the connectivity and kind of that strength. There isn't as much of that. Doesn't mean obviously that you can't function in things, but you've got to be careful, and there's varying degrees of seriousness with it. But wow. So you is did this all start? mean, these are a lot of symptoms. These are a lot of conditions that all kind of create this whole of what you go through. Um, was it was it like this in high school, or how far
Yeah.
back would you go into? So it's it's not like your story is like, hey, I lived pretty healthy life through junior high and high school, and then it had and then just recently, a lot over the last 2 or 3 years, it started getting worse. This has been going on for quite a while for you.
The last day of high school was sophomore year at the beginning of the year. I think it was like 4 weeks in, maybe, and I was in Spanish class. And I was writing on my paper. And then my shoulders started going up. And then, like, everything just started getting weird. And then I ended up getting paralyzed like this and falling out of the desk. And so the ambulance had to come and they didn't know what was wrong, so they were giving me like Toradol and stuff like that. Turns out I was so dehydrated that I was living with kidney failure for 4 weeks.
Oh,
So
really?
I was completely done. And I'm so lucky that my body was able to bounce back and I didn't need to have a dialysis because
Yeah.
it was so long without kidneys. Like everything was swollen, and I was just thinking that I was like gaining weight somehow, and I was like, I don't get it. And so I was drinking a lot of water, but the kidneys were done, so it doesn't matter. And so that
So
was the last
you
day.
went for a period of time where even though your kidneys were in that state, it wasn't bad enough where you needed to resort to dialysis before it risked your life. And then did your kidneys just start recovering a little bit so that it wasn't a chronic
After like a
ongoing
bunch
concern?
of IV medicines and IV boluses, they were able to do it. It took like 2 days, but they were able to get him back. So that's where I'm lucky. And so, for real. But oh my gosh, it was so painful. That whole entire time, I was just asking because my stepdad's a PT. He knows how to do like little massages too. And so it was so painful, like flank pain. And so, like, it just continued to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And then I got stuck and paralyzed. I don't know. It's like not paralyzed, but it definitely was like a stuck spasm.
Like a spasm, yeah, like the a, like spasms. Do you let me see if you said.
Oh, I
Oh,
get
see,
spasms
are you
bad.
talking about like a seizure kind of thing?
Oh no, I'm talking
Or,
like it's pretty much like paralyzed, but I don't want to say paralyzed
oh,
because it's
okay.
bad.
Do you have frequent seizures even though it's not epileptic, or is that something that is less
While I
frequent
was in
that you're
the
having to deal with?
hospital, I don't know what like, but so okay, so while I was in the hospital, they were doing TPN. The TPN had soy in it, like just a little bit of soy oil, like based in it. So like it's all broken down, but whatever. Like it's not actually soy oil, but it's like the derivative of blah blah blah. I'm allergic to soy as well, and so while they were giving me TPN, I had maybe 50 seizures, and they were long, and they were bad, and they were painful, and they were. It was maybe like yeah, like 5 or 6 a day, and it was horrible. It was so horrible. But since they ended up taking like the lipids out, and that took out the soy, I had maybe 3 seizures after, and I haven't had one since. And so, hell yeah. But
Count your
usually my
blessings,
seizures
right?
are like connected to very high pain or very high stress.
Yeah. Yeah, if some of the things that you've gone through can kind of subside so that they're less chronic, right? Then all the better, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I
Yeah.
hear people feeling like it just kind of piles on top, and and sometimes you feel not, sometimes hopeless, I suppose, but just it brings your spirits down, right? I mean, you have such positive spirits, and Nell says she's going to dip out now, and then she just
You feel
gives
better.
you her biggest love and respect. She received
All
it.
absorbed.
And it's interesting. Nell's so into color, and she's an artist and things, and
Oh yeah.
I was so excited to and all these conditions and many of them are fairly new to me. I just kind of dove right in, so you'll have to forgive me. I want to pause for a second if I can and just compliment you. I love your hair. I know
Oh my
Nell
gosh, thank you.
loves your color hair, your style. What tell me a little bit about you just as a person. What do you like to do um to
I'm a big hippie.
yeah, what
I love outside. I love animals. I would go hiking. I would live like I would try to go what is that? Off the grid. I would try to go off the grid if I was healthy. And I would do everything self-sustaining. I'd grow all of my food. I was like before all of this, I was vegan for 6 years and like I mean technically my formula is vegan, so it might be carried on. So
yeah.
I love
You
I just love it all.
you mean they have formula options to be able to be vegan if you still want it, right?
Yeah, well, because I'm allergic to dairy, soy, gluten, and eggs, and so pretty much every formula is going to be dairy derivative or whey, or we use as whey for the protein, and whey is for milk, so I can't use that. And then a lot of the other like vegan or vegetarian ones will use soy, and because that's a bigger one too, and so I can't have that either, or I will not be good like I was just telling you. And so this one is made with pea protein. And so it works out. The only
Oh,
thing though is
good.
it doesn't have any sugars in it, so I think that's why I was so hypoglycemic earlier. But we'll figure
Yeah,
out.
you're probably
I probably should just put some
in
sugar
some
in it.
ways, people that are able to eat all the kinds of foods that are out there. There's some challenge that goes with that, and that people, it's difficult sometimes to eat healthy. Where in some ways by you having I guess there's some silver linings if you want to call it, that I'm sure that the people that are involved with making these formulas, right, they're going to pack that with the things that you need. It's not like you're having to worry about having this excessive sugar intake, and things like that, So
Granted, with this, I have to like. Well, it started when I did TPN, but they wanted me to continue because of all the answers, or not answers, but the measurements. But I have to test my sugar a lot. But I broke my monitor, so I need to get another monitor.
oh, oh,
So
you
that's why I
did,
didn't know what it was today.
yeah.
But we'll figure it out.
What are some of the someone wants to Jennifer wants to know what are some of the symptoms that you have with POTS. We talked just a little bit about that, but like on a day to day basis, what would be you know something where you're like, oh, okay, that's my POTS. Got to be careful here.
I'll tell you how I'm feeling right now. The symptoms right now. Okay, so it is it so if I did like so I could check my oxygen right now and it would be just fine. But I feel like I cannot breathe. Like I feel like I can't get enough oxygen in, and then that's the POTS because it's not being able to flow enough oxygen around my body. My brain is not getting enough oxygen because it's trying to fix all of the symptoms that I'm getting in my body.
Okay.
So it's just but with that, like I don't want to move because it's really taxing to move, but it also hurts and it's also very heavy. And I also feel hot but cold and everything. Like I can feel my heart race in every single part of my body. I can hear my heart race. Um,
Do you ever have panic attacks? I mean, I think we all can relate to those times where we're laying in our bed and we're thinking, there's so much that's out of our control. I don't have to think about my heart beating, right? And you know that it's your heart that's controlling it, but it's obviously not the conscious, part of it. When you have to, you know, be more mindful of things that could be life threatening. And I think of this with like diabetes too, right? I mean, if people weren't actively, doing something that other healthy people don't even have to worry about, then it could be life threatening. So whether it's knowing that you have kind of that extra responsibility to kind of take care of you and advocate for your own care, or whether you think of it in the sense of I'm experiencing symptoms, and that's kind of sobering to know that that I've got to be careful with that. Do you ever just have those moments where it's just kind of panicky, like, am I okay, am I okay? Or I mean, it
Goodness.
would. I mean, I'm just kind of. I don't mean to kind of like induce people to feel
Oh
anxious, but
no.
I'm already anxious over the smallest things. If I felt like my body wasn't working right, it would be really difficult for me to
So I was
remain
actually telling
calm
my
as
yeah, I was
as much
telling
as I
the
could.
my mother and my future mother-in-law actually about this today because I've dealt with mental health issues all my life as well because of all of this. And that's how everyone is with all these kind of things. Like you said, like the statistic of 50% of suicides tend to be with like chronic pain and chronic illness. But I don't know how this works. But I will panic over a straw. I will panic over some paper. I will be having like a seizure and I'm just in go mode. I I'm like, get to work. I need to lay on my side. I need to get a pillow under my head. I need you to go over there. I need you to get this. I need you to tell the doctor. Everybody go. I I really I of course I'm panicky, but I really have that like adrenaline leadership. Like I don't really know. Like as I know that if I don't do anything, then it's gonna be fatal. But I know like all of the steps to fix it, and I wouldn't have to go through that. It's really hard to get that done, and I make lists. I make so many lists of like what to do and like for other
Yeah,
people and everything. I'm like, this is your job, this is your job, this is where it is. It's gonna stay in this spot, like stuff
you
like
have to
that.
take that ownership for your own care, right? Yeah, you've got. I mean, that could, and then like you're saying, the initiating of that, and whether that's delegating or making sure that you've got people that are helping with that, then you can come up with a plan where you're a little bit more calm with it because things are being taken care of, right? But
Mm-hmm.
maybe there are people that are watching this and they've got all these varying conditions, and maybe they don't feel like that they're as good at being able to do that, and they're struggling getting into the habit of having a skill or whatever, right? And then that's maybe panicking them because they know that um, you know nobody's going to just come and save me, right? And if I don't I don't know, lack of a better word, if I don't step it up and be like, I've got to take this into my own hands a little bit more. I can't just say, oh, hey, God, take care of everything, or oh, hey, mom or dad or whoever. It really is a catalyst for maturity. You have to grow up
You're
fast,
saying
don't you?
that, and it brings me actually back to a panicky spot to where like I didn't have like okay, so it was right here. I fell and had a seizure. I couldn't. It was the life alert commercial. I couldn't get up. I couldn't help myself. No one was home, and I was just shaking and and vomiting. And there's nothing that I could do. And the only thing I could do is hope that it stopped and I was done. And I'd make it through. Sometimes that I feel like that is the scary. That's the scary part is when you're alone and there's nothing you can do. Like how you were saying,
Yeah, yeah,
there's nothing and like your phone is away or even if your phone was there like you're in the middle of a seizure you're not going to be able to like put in your password and go
yeah,
and have a phone call or text
yeah,
somebody you're not functional
yeah,
so that's the scary part
yeah,
and that's the thing like where I have to put my faith like I know like how you said like God doesn't take care of everything and honestly he doesn't because he has his own plans with whatever he wants to do whatever and so kind of that's kind of like my attitude with it. I'm like, if God's not going to save me, whatever. We'll see what happens next.
well, you have to. You just have to have a little bit of that, right? I mean, it's kind of like a little bit of little bit of submissiveness, a little bit of walking by faith, a little bit of letting go. However you want to kind of think of it. Life just has a way, as you're kind of maturing, like we've talked about, to just be like, hey, whether I like it or not, that's kind of the
The
place that I need to
answer.
kind of move into. and you can grow from that, right? I mean, that doesn't have to always be a negative thing, right? I mean, it could be a good thing where you're just kind of moving into that space and just, recognizing that, hey, worst case scenario, if I were to pass, it doesn't mean that I'm still not in good care of a higher power or whatever, and oh my gosh, Kat, we could go on and on, my friend, and there's so much to unpack, and I hope that what we've talked about today, has allowed for you to kind of share your story,
I
maybe
hope
even
that
in a
it's been
way that you have.
helpful. That's all I want.
Yeah. So before we kind of wrap up, we have about 3 to 5 minutes here. What for those that are starting to go through things for the first time, they're the people that have been on the outside looking in, and they're hearing and they're seeing people, whether you want to think of them as veterans or people that are experienced, they've been through it, and they can tell, you can tell the souls that have really been through it, and they haven't got that yet, but they just learned that they've got cancer, or they've just learned that they're
Yeah.
going to have to, or whatever. What would you say to them that are just brand new, and they're just freaked out with what that means for them? What would you say to those people?
It'll take time and it'll take every single bit of effort that you have. But meanwhile, as you like walk down all of that crap, you have to keep your head up. Keep your head up and look at every single thing that's positive. Every single thing. Get a journal and write down every single thing every positive thing that's happened to you until your hand hurts. Like, be open to positivity. You're going to be surrounded by negativity. Be open to positivity. I think that's the best I got.
Wow. We've been blessed having you. I want to keep talking. It's there's so much. An hour doesn't do justice for the time that I think should go towards all of you guys, and we call you guys kindred spirits, right? There's just such an easy connection that we have with you, and
I
again,
love
give
that. I
give our
love that
love to
with
your
the person.
family and your fiance, and congratulations. That's exciting. You still have so much, right, to look forward
Yeah.
to, and
I got so much motivation to get walking. I just need to walk like
absolutely.
100 feet. That's it. I can do
And
it.
I'll let you know when this gets posted to YouTube. You can, direct people and do whatever you want with that link, whether you got a link tree or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, So I know that it's going to bless a lot of people, and they're going to really get some inspiration from hearing, about your story. So I just can't thank you enough, my
Mm-hmm.
friend, to having us, have you on this evening. So,
Thank you so much. You are awesome, and your wife is awesome. I hope that she's feeling better soon as possible.
oh,
And you,
thank you,
of course,
thank you,
too.
thank you. Thank
But
you.
yeah,
That's really
I'm
kind of you.
so
I
grateful
really,
for all.
really appreciate it. And we'll be in touch. We, at least once or twice a year, we'll be having Zoom calls, and so you'll, watch for some information sent to you, and then we have an opportunity for you and other guests to kind of just join, and so it's kind of nice that we kind of keep that connection, with each other, and we'll continue, of course, to follow you, and we're just cheering you on, my friend. So just keep doing what you're doing. You're a bright light in the world. Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Have a good night, everybody. We love you. Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Okay, we'll see ya.
Bye.
Night.